Berlin is considering buying 35 additional American fighter jets, of course, F-35s, which could be used as nuclear weapon carriers. Let's listen to what Friedrich Merz, the German Chancellor, had to say about it.
What role does Germany play? Because it won't be able to decide on its own whether France or Great Britain are ready to use nuclear weapons.
Just like for the Americans, the final decision rests with the French and the British. We have nuclear-capable aircraft in our armed forces, so our fighter jets are able to carry nuclear weapons.
So, Xavier Teitelmann, German fighter jets could carry British and French nuclear weapons.
Exactly. Currently, it's only American, yes.
No, but I said could. I didn't say will. Potentially, theoretically.
When you don't understand anything about reality, you can claim that. The reality is that we will never put a French missile with the integration of nuclear keys under an American system. That would mean losing our sovereignty and giving our launch keys to the Americans.
That will never happen.
They could potentially buy Rafales, letting us partner to replace the Americans.
No, but they're not discussing Rafales now.
They're talking about F-35s. We have a problem with the Americans. We know they won't be aligned tomorrow. I'm even certain that if we ever had to use nuclear weapons, the Germans would never get Trump's authorization to use them. Despite everything, there aren't enough planes because the F-35 doesn't fly as needed. It only flies 180 of 220 hours per year and costs 40,000 euros per flight hour, so they need to buy more just to be able to do the minimum available flight hours.
Are you saying that's the reason?
But of course, it's even worse than that. It's actually acknowledged by Lockheed Martin. When Belgium and Australia said your planes aren't flying as much as expected, what did they say? Buy more. The Germans have come to exactly the same conclusion. Your plane doesn't do what's needed and it doesn't fly as much as expected. We were forced to spend billions more, impacting European defense. Already, $300 billion in American equipment is set to arrive in Europe. These contracts should be canceled. We must end our dependence. The Americans and Germans are making a mistake.
And it's still happening. On top of that, at a time when the FCAS project is completely falling apart.
So, the FCAS project, tell us a bit about it. It's the French-German project for future aircraft.
The French-German project for future aircraft with Airbus from Germany and Dassault from France. Well, they can't come to an agreement. I think Xavier knows the details much better than I do.
There's an interesting point about nuclear power. The Germans say, hey, the FCAS, you French want it to be nuclear, but we're not interested in that. Besides, making it nuclear would cost more, so we don't want to pay our share. They want their own sovereign nuclear capability in the future, but not now. They're also seeking reasons to remove the French from the FCAS program by pretending our interest in a nuclear aircraft isn't shared by the Germans. At some point, you have to know.
Let's stay on the F-35s for a moment, because it's not just Germany that wants F-35s and is equipped with them. In Europe, there's the Netherlands. Their State Secretary for Defense first mentioned ways to get around the dependence on the United States regarding the software of these planes, before backtracking and pointing out that he probably wasn't allowed to talk about it. So here's what he said. Just like your iPhone, it's possible to unlock an F. I won't say any more.
Completely my topic.
No, explain to us. That is, what does access to the F-35 software code allow?
The F-35 is a plane that, for all its mission preparations, debriefings, and software, connects back to the United States. If you don't connect the plane to the United States for 30 days, the Belgian army confirmed it. Your plane is disconnected. The Israelis confirmed it. Once you connect to the United States, Americans decide our plane's performance, especially when the UAE planned to purchase them. The Israelis said, it's not a problem. The United States can reduce the stealth of the F-35, so the performance of the plane is under American control.
The fact of
simply being able to take off. If we don't connect within 30 days, we lose our Air Force. We say your plane isn't sovereign, so we can't buy it. We'd depend on the Americans, even if we disagreed tomorrow over Greenland or defending the Baltic states. What does the Prime Minister say now? The government statements are false. He claims it's not a big deal. We can just reboot and reinstall. What he's saying is completely false, a lie. And all the global systems, the Rafale, all the planes, if you try to insert another line of code, or if you try to read the code, it will self-destruct. That means the system is a bit like Mission Impossible. The system stops functioning, the encryption keys will disconnect. And for example, if you have a piece of an F-35 that falls to the ground, or a Rafale, and you try to plug it in to analyze it, the code will destroy itself. Inside, it's unusable. There is a verification, there is encryption, and a verification key for the devices with each other. So imagine if someone could recover the code to change it. And by the way, I'd like to remind you that when it comes to iPhones, the example he gave, you can jailbreak your iPhone.
The iPhone.
Even for that, the American Secret Services can't manage to jailbreak iPhones.
Yeah, so how do you jailbreak an F-35?
Can you imagine the security on that?
Michel Goya, so we're still pretty far from European sovereignty.
Let me remind you that the Netherlands also has American nuclear weapons on their soil. And so that's also the American argument, saying if one day you want to carry our nuclear weapons, our B-61s that are on your soil, you need F-35s. The same goes for Belgium and the same goes for Italy. So they're forced to, unless they give up this dual nuclear key, well, this so-called dual nuclear key, they're forced to, otherwise there's no more American nuclear umbrella to buy the F-35 and the F-35s. So they're tied twice, by the nuclear aspect and by the American delivery system itself. So it's a form of racketeering on the American side.
Yes, well, a racket that everyone has agreed to submit to.
We're in the paradox of today's Europe, which, since Donald Trump returned to power, keeps saying that it's emancipating itself politically and militarily. And at the same time, none of the individual countries actually want to emancipate themselves for the reasons just mentioned. Some of these countries have American nuclear weapons on their soil, but there's also maybe a kind of psychological, historical fear of breaking away from the Americans and of building a true European defense based on European sovereignty and not on American sovereignty. That's the whole paradox, and if I may say so, the sadness today of this European defense that just can't seem to be built.
So, when Donald Trump scolds European countries for not spending enough on defense and demands that they reach 5%, he systematically forgets to count the purchase of American equipment, which is part of the bill. Still, that's money being paid to the United States.
He deliberately forgets.
He deliberately forgets. So if we do the math seriously, we should add all the aircraft and everything else. Because we also have a lot of land and naval equipment that's American.
60% of European equipment and $300 billion worth of equipment to be delivered from America to Europe. So,
You brought it up yourself. I didn't even have to mention Donald Trump.